Hi everyone, this is Brian Tomaszewski, and this is a walkthrough of Lab 1 using ArcGIS Pro. I'm going to highlight some of the basic tasks you have to do to help get you through this lab. So this lab will require using ArcGIS Pro. Instructions were provided on how to obtain the software. If you've installed ArcGIS Pro, to log into the software, you have to put in your RIT account. So I thought I would capture that because that's actually something pretty important just for getting started. So when the software loads up, it should prompt you with something like this. You're looking for an enterprise login, RIT ArcGIS, and you want to see Rochester Institute of Technology, enterprise login, and it's like checking your email. So type that in there. If you have any trouble with that, let me know. This was related to the ArcGIS online accounts that you should have gotten working last week. That also included getting ArcGIS Pro. So if you take a look at the upper right here, there's my ArcGIS Online for RIT, and I'm good to go. Now, if I follow along with the instructions, again, I'm going to skim through these just to show you some of the major tasks. Okay. It says right here, create a new ArcGIS Pro project using a map template. All that means is under templates, go to map, and what you can do here, then save your project in a location that you can find it easily later, depending on how you do your work. Again, this is going to be your own personal choice on how to do this. For this, I'll use something like that. Okay. I'll create a new folder. That's fine. Okay. So this is a basic ArcGIS Pro document that I'm creating here. And with the map template, all that really means is that you're going to get a base map, topographic. You're welcome if you want to change that around. There's all kinds of different base maps here. Um, it's up to you. That is an internet poll, by the way, to do that. So sometimes it's actually helpful to turn that off. Okay. If I go over here to catalog under folders, you can see here is my project. Now, later in the instructions, it talks about how a file geodatabase gets created for you automatically when you create the document. That's what this is referring to. File geodatabase, GDB, and that was discussed in your videos. The older software, you had to create it yourself. It's a little easier now because they sort of give you one for free. If we go back to the instructions, another one I wanted to highlight, define your study area. So what you want to do is when you go to this page, and I open this up, I'm from New York State, so I like to pick where I'm from originally. You can pick anywhere. I'm from this town right here called Hamburg. Okay, so I'm going to make this my study area, the bounds of this USGS quad map. Again, quad maps you learned about in previous weeks. Okay, so that's what that is. Vector data sets. Download 2 or more vector data sets from your study area, and you have a couple choices here. Now, from Cougar, this is a long-running data website for New York. I'll go to get a vector data set. I already have Cougar loaded up here. In the instructions, I talk about um, using roads or hydrography, right? So let's say I want to try to find roads. I'll type in, let's see what roads brings me. And this is actually part of the challenge of finding GIS data, right? So they do have some roads, and sometimes the map will change, but they really only have 2 things. But I'll go with this. The census roads, this will be for all of New York State, but that's fine. Again, this is an exercise in finding some data, bringing it in. I'm not expecting it to be completely accurate. 60 megabytes. I'll go ahead and download a shapefile. And it's always good practice to start, here's my project behind the scenes. I might make a new folder called Okay, so that's downloaded. Now if I go to my folder, there it is, my zip file. I want to right click, unzip it. And here I have all of roads for New York State. Now make note of this, FGDC, this is going to be your metadata where I'm going to go find stuff. Later in the lab, it talks about creating a featured data set, and that's what I'm going to use to find the spatial reference information. This kind of stuff there, okay, decimal degrees. But anyways, with my data set downloaded, and it says add the data sets. I just did one. I'll add it to my map, and a couple ways you can do that. If I go to over here, if I right click on my folder and do refresh this, there we go, data downloads. There's my roads, okay, and then I'm going to take that, and the way I can add it to my map is just drag it and drop it over. And you'll see that the this is a lot of roads here. It's more than my study area. There's ways that I can filter this and so forth. And like I said, maybe to save performance, I'll just turn the base map off. And as always, save your document. You can right click on this, take a look at it. And so forth, okay? Now, in terms of my study area, Hamburg, where I'm from, and I'm using is kind of right about here, and so forth, okay? All right, so that was that. Now, okay, in this next part, I'm going to look for a raster data set. It says go to the New York State GIS Clearinghouse. There's a couple options you can explore with this. So here's the New York State GIS Clearinghouse. If I go under data, raster maps, and then I can look under digital quadrangles, 1 to 24,000. I'll go back and find Hamburg. There it is. And you know, there's a couple things. You could just grab an image, the quad image. For example, download the quad, and that's going to fire off another zip file download that I will go over here and unzip that out. And this is going to be a TIFF and a TFW, and this is what's called the world file, tells the TIFF file where it belongs. If I go back over here and refresh my folder, the number is the quad sort of code, and I can drag that and put that in there. And that actually will help me to kind of really define the study area. You can go, I'll just hit no to save time, but you can build the pyramids. That's the thing for images. Okay, and so what you see here is the quad image has now been added as a as a raster image layer with the road vector on top of it. And these data sets have come a long way in that they generally are lining up the vector road. You know, if you turn the image off, you see the roads behind it. Save your work. So that's that part. So you don't have to find a quad map. I mean, if you're interested in this, another thing you could do is if you were to go back to Cougar, for example, a digital elevation model, a DEM, those can be interesting. If you click on this, you can kind of try to find the DEM of your quad. It used to be a little easier to do this, but yeah, you could kind of hunt around in here and so forth. Okay, I won't do that for, but I'm just saying that's another raster kind of option because the DEM could show you elevation. Okay. All right, so that's the raster and the vector. For this part, importing, as I mentioned earlier in the video, you'll create some featured data sets. So just to practice that, what you want to do, like for example, a featured data set on transportation. Okay. If I go here, this is the file geodatabase I got. And here was my metadata that I showed you before. I go to the spatial reference information to figure out what it is at North American Datum 83. So I'm going to right click and do a new feature data set. And I'm going to call this one transportation. And then this is the key thing here is to set the coordinate system. And you can see here, you can already base it on some of the layers you have. For example, this makes it really easy. RDS, those are my roads. So the system already knows that that's what the coordinate system is. So I'll hit that. And GCS North American 83. Also from the metadata, I hit run. ArcGIS Pro will do its thing here. You get your kind of outputs. And then if I go back over to catalog, and as you can see here now, I have a feature data set with nothing in it. Okay, in this next set of instructions, after you created the feature data set, you want to then export the data you downloaded into it. And let me show you a little trick of the trade I might do now. Again, this roads is a really big data set that I don't need all of it. So what I can do is use my quad as a general guideline, and check this out. So what I'm going to do is go over here under map, select a rectangle. I'm going to draw kind of approximately the extent of that image there. So if I do something like this, where I just kind of draw a box like that, you can see that those black lines are features that I've selected by doing that rectangle. So what I'm going to do is export out this sort of batch of selected features. If I right click and go to open attribute table, I've selected about 1,900 of over a million features. So then what I can do is right click, data, export features, and I'm going to take them, again, I'm going to click here. I'm going to click on transportation that I just created, and I'll call this one on that. And so basically what I just did, sort of I bit a chunk off of that bigger data set. So if I turn off RDS, the roads I downloaded, now I've just got a nice little subset of data that for this lab is perfectly fine. And I can even go ahead and just get that right out of there, a big data set. So here's I have my one raster, one vector, and so forth. I'll save my work. If I go look at my catalog view, you can see there it is now. So file geodatabase, feature data set, and the subset of roads. And we'll just dig and so forth. That's what we're looking to get, okay? So that's that. Now the event theme, this is a really common but powerful way to use text data. And what I'm going to do here is use the Lab 1 data sets to add some point features as XY. Okay, so the way that's going to work, if I go to where the Lab 1 data sets are, okay, the easiest way really I've been finding to do it is to take it and drag it and drop it right into ArcGIS Pro. Okay, and so you can see here it comes out as a standalone table. All right, so if I were to open that, it's basically a bunch of place name points for all over New York State. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn them into what's called XY or event data. Right click, display XY data, and then the X field, like on a Cartesian grid, will be the prime long for deaths for decimal degrees, and the Y field will be the latitude, and the coordinate system's already set. We'll run that, and you can see you get points from all over the place in the state, because it's all of New York. Okay, so kind of like we just did with the roads, we're going to next filter out these points so they're just for the Hamburg quad, or at least the quad I'm using for my case study. And this is where we'll do, this is the filter part. And the way that you do that is right click, properties, definition query, and then you want to do a new definition query where the map name is equal to, and mine's called Hamburg. Okay. If you're interested in SQL, by the way, too, you get there's, I mean, that's all it is if you want to see it that way. But when I apply that, watch what will happen to all these points on this white area. Okay, they all go away. And as per the assigned instructions, once you do the filter, now what you could do is right click and do just like we did with the roads, export those features and put them right at the root. I'm going to call them Hamburg place names. Okay, we'll run that. And so that'll take them out from being based on a text file, make them their own feature class. Now we go back to my catalog. You can see here how they're included in my geodatabase. And so in fact, I'm actually really even, I can remove that. I can remove that. I don't know why it added that there, but I'm going to remove it because I like a nice little clean file geodatabase, right? And so now I've got my one raster, my one vector. I've done the import, I filtered it, and if I move along in the instructions, symbolizing it, there's a lot of ways you can do that. You know, if I go here to right, I can right click, go to symbology, and I can do unique values based on what's called the CFCC, and this is different categories of roads and so forth. And this is really for you to look more into how to make this look nice, what these all mean, and so forth. And I provide a link about what this all means. Okay. And same thing, yes, with the event points. So, for example, Hamburg place names. Now that it's a smaller data set, here's the feature class: a populated place, a school, so forth. If I were to right click and go to symbology here and do unique values based on the feature class, you know, airport cemetery, like for this one, if I clicked on it, you know, I can start trying to look for okay. And you can see over here, I found an airport symbol, and I don't think there's many airports in this particular town, but and so forth. Okay, so that's how you can start finding symbols, change these around, review the cartography video lecture. Okay, the next instructions ask you to make a layout, so let me show you how that works. So what you want to do is go insert, new layout, and then we'll do a tabloid 11 by 17. And under map frame, you can see default extent, there's our map. Kind of drag a box here, and that should show our map. And you can often what you want to do is right click on that map, do activate, and that'll let you kind of go in there and start to fill it out. Okay, and then when you're done with that kind of thing, activated map frame, close it. Okay, and then under the layout, you'll have all your things that you can do with it. For example, inserting north arrows, scale bars, legends, and so forth. And I'll leave it for you to kind of figure out how these tools work in more depth. I'm just kind of showing you how you get at them and so forth. Okay. When you're all done with your map and making the layout as per the instructions, to then export it out as per these instructions. Okay. And when you're ready to do the export, once you're done making it, you go under Share Layout, and then you can pick a spot or a file format. I'll do it as I'll uncheck the transparent background and I'll export that out. And there's, I mean, this is a really rough one I did for this demonstration, but there's your graphic that you could put in the discussion post. So contact me if you run into any problems or questions. And I hope this quick little tutorial was helpful. Thanks for watching.